Reaction Monday live, special time. Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you. Texans media availability. It kind of pushed us back a little bit, but here we are at 2 o'clock, a victory version. Shout out to the great people at TDECU for sponsoring Reaction Monday. You can go to TDECU.org/Texans to get that pretty new debit card, 15% off your merchandise at the team shop if you so choose to do that. It's got that nice pretty logo, and the perks don't stop there. There's a lot that they do. Shout out to the greatness that is TDECU for sponsoring Reaction Monday.
Yeah, 15 greater Houston area locations for you to check out, and you can even get started right there online, TDECU.org/Texans.
Fact. All right, so the Texans beat the 49ers. Let's jump into this. I know a lot of people want to talk about DeMeco Ryans. We will. Trust me, we will talk about DeMeco Ryans outside noise gate, if you will, which
that's what we named it. Oh, come on.
Outside noise gate. I don't know. I heard the rant yesterday. I know a lot of people kind of rolled their eyes at it. It's very generalized. A lot of times, like, the criticism is not direct. It's very generalized, which I've said this is nothing new. And I think because of the rant, you ask about it and then you get what you get. And I think the biggest disconnect between DeMeco and me, and we'll get into this, and it'll be cool. It's fine. It doesn't matter either way. Like, for me, I don't expect DeMeco to answer a question a certain way. I don't expect DeMeco to act a certain way. I've been covering coaches for 20 years. A lot of them act different ways. I've never said that DeMeco Ryans should not be fired. I think he has a longer shelf life than everyone else. Yeah, I've never said he should be fired. I think he has a longer shelf life than everyone else in the building. I think he should have a chance to evolve more than anyone else in the building. I've maintained that, but I've also said from the jump, I don't think he respects fans and media. And I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing, but I don't think he respects fans and media, and I don't think his words have helped him squash that myth. I think a lot of times there's overthinking when these guys go to the podium with the Texans. And I think a lot of times it's almost like a keeping it real goes wrong thing where you're so paranoid about it that you say too much. So I don't expect anything. I don't expect a response. Like, whatever it is fine. I don't think he gives us much very often, which is fine. I'm not a beat reporter. I'm not like asking him to like be nice. I'm not asking for stories. For the last 3 years digitally, I've talked about the Texans, whether Lovie Smith was the coach, whether I was having a baby, whether I was moving, whether I was on the radio. It's not optional for me. Talking about the Texans, covering the Texans. And that's always, you go back to the journalism background, you go back to the shtick, the radio, that's fine. But we'll get into the game in a sec, but I'll just say this. I don't expect DeMeco to act a certain way. I think he expects media to act a certain way. And I think that's where the disconnect is. I think he wants to get his jabs in at everybody, and then he doesn't want a follow-up question. And I think that is the problem. And I think sometimes he takes it a little bit too personal, and he thinks everyone's out to get him, which he said today. And I also will say this. I've never in my life, including myself, it was DeMeco or bust. It's like, I even through all this, I've talked about evolve. I've never in my life seen a coach get as much praise as DeMeco, ever. And we'll get more into it a little bit. We'll talk about it, but that's really what I think the disconnect is I don't expect him to act a certain way. I think he expects me and media to act a certain way. And I think that's where the disconnect is.
It's well put, and we'll get into it in more depth a little bit later on.
So what does the dub mean? Reaction Monday. We'll get into the ball game. What does the dub mean?
Here's what I really liked about this performance by the Texans against the 49ers is it got what the fans were looking for, and it got what DeMeco Ryans was looking for. I think what the fans and what I was looking for in this was resiliency. You're a few days removed from a game where I'm sure the Texans had some thoughts they should have won that football game. I know it wasn't close necessarily because the Texans did a lot of really good things. The Seahawks kind of helped keep them around, but they had to feel like that one slipped away from them. And then that whole next day kind of gets cratered because of when you played the game, where you played the game. And so you got to turn the page, turn the corner, show you have a resiliency to you as a team, and go out there and take care of business as you start a really important portion of your schedule with a 3-game homestand. And so I felt like the players from Stroud, who had a rough game, to Nick Caley, who had a rough game, to the offensive line, to various other pieces. I thought they showed a lot of resiliency. And I feel like a lot of us were hoping to see that. And then from a D'Amico Ryans standpoint, hey, the headsets did their job. It was up to the players to now do their job. And the players did just that. They went out there. It felt like a pretty solid game plan overall. And there was only a couple of hiccups here or there that had the 49ers really ever in the game or moving the football. And a lot of times it felt like if things weren't going right, it wasn't because the 49ers imposed their will on the Texans. It was more so like the Texans kind of gave them an opening and the 49ers hit a big play here or there. So resiliency and execution is what a lot of people wanted to see, from the people in the building to the people out of the building. And I thought you saw both of those.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is the defense is still a superpower. And I know the 49ers are depleted. I know the Texans didn't have Kirk and Collins, but the 49ers didn't have their top two receivers. They didn't have their starting center. They didn't have Fred Warner. They didn't have Bosa. But I think the defense is still potentially a superpower. Mac Jones, after the game, basically confirmed that. This is what Mac Jones said about the defense.
They do what they do. They've done the same thing the past 5 years. So they're really good, though. They've all played together for a long time and got a lot of respect for those guys. And I've gone against them 3 times in the last year, and every time I've left the field, I thought they were the best defense in the NFL.
All right, so there you go. So he says that. So that's my biggest takeaway is we said this coming into the season, that the defense was going to be the straw that stirred the drink. The defense was going to allow the offense to be graded on a curve. So we'll get into the offense, but I think the biggest takeaway that I have is the defense is still a superpower. Christian McCaffrey had 8 carries. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. That's respect. You know, we talked a lot about the like respect or lack thereof with Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I mean, that's kind of respect when Kyle Shanahan decides he's only going to run the ball 8 times with one of the best running backs in the league.
Well, that, and it didn't really feel like there was, I mean, certainly there got to a moment where the game was out of hand and you got to just throw. But even in the first half of the football game, it never really felt like, gosh, they're so far behind, they have to just throw the football. Like, they were close enough on the scoreboard that they didn't have to totally get out of how they operate, handing McCaffrey the football and running the ball with him and even throwing it to him. I felt like they didn't throw it to him as many times as they probably could have thrown it to him in this matchup. And the game plan for the Texans, it feels like they made things very messy over the middle for Mac Jones, so he couldn't work there, and it made him hold the ball a little bit longer. The pass rush had a good day. So, yeah, the defense was fantastic. And if the special teams hadn't helped the 49ers out, they might have had a first-half shutout.
Yeah, and that was another thing about this game. We'll get into that in the key moments. I think that this was kind of the opposite yet same of the Seattle game, where in the Seattle game you watched it and you were like, how in the F are the Texans down 14-6 at halftime? Like, how is that a thing? And then in this game, you watched it and you were like, how in the hell are the Texans only up 16-7 or whatever the score? Yeah, 16-7. Why are they only up 16-7 after the Kittle touchdown? Frank Ross, special teams allow the kick return to midfield, and then you have the face mask as well. So I kind of thought that was an interesting thing. And then once again, though, you talk about the pivotal drive. The Texans started theirs out on Monday with an interception by C.J. Stroud, and then San Francisco starts their pivotal drive with Kyle Shanahan, who we have a lot of respect for, and it's a 3-and-out. And it kind of just goes back to the defense and what we've said about the defense. So I thought that was my biggest takeaway is the defense is what we thought they were. And I will say this, I have to put this caveat, I'm sorry. I think San Francisco is somewhere between the teams that the Texans have lost to and the teams that the Texans have beat. And I think they're closer to the teams that they have beat. I think it's impressive that they have the record they do, but I think this version of the 49ers and what they lack is closer to that. But with that said, the Texans get a rare opportunity in less than a month where they beat a depleted team with a backup quarterback, which is still good, still an okay team. And then they have the opportunity to play a good team and get up to 500. Now, earlier this month, they beat Baltimore, and then they had the bye, and they laid an egg against Seattle. But you talk about it's how you respond. We always hear all the coaches speak, all that stuff. This is a massive second chance for them in a very short time to see where exactly they stand and if they've turned that corner. Because the reality is 5-5 is what we talk about going into week 11 and what they need to do. They're still going to have to prove, if it's going to mean anything, whether they back into the playoffs or not, that they can beat good teams. And we can argue about Denver's ceiling and we can argue about what Denver is or isn't, but the reality is Denver's a good team. They're not depleted. This is a good team. Denver is a good team. We can agree with that. Maybe you won't.
Denver's, there's some really important players for Denver to monitor from injury standpoint, but they're nowhere near the Ravens or the 49ers that the Texans played from a loss of talent standpoint as to when the Texans went out there and played them. So even if Pat Surtain and Marvin Mims miss on Sunday, that doesn't equal what Baltimore was missing and what San Fran was missing in those matchups.
Let's go to the super chat. We'll get to the Texans turf, Kings of the Turf, as well as the TDECU where credit is due, as well as Noisegate, outside Noisegate. With
I can't believe you named it that.
It's low hanging fruit, You
ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Logan Taylor 6213 says XJ Jade lowest pressure of year Ingram PFF rank.
Actually, PFF did not like Ed Ingram yesterday. They liked Ariante Ursery the most.
Yeah, Ariante Ursery and that pressure rate vibe very nicely. I've seen 33rd team. They vibe very nicely. The Ariante Ursery advanced stats. So good for him. I noticed this. I think Ariante Ursery hates the Broncos. I know he's a Chiefs fan. I think it's safe to say that he probably hates the Broncos. If he was a real Chiefs fan, it's safe to say that he definitely hates the Broncos. So this one might be a little bit personal. And I know he was a Chiefs fan. That's kind of common knowledge. I think he was probably disappointed he didn't get drafted there, but he'll probably have a little extra anger on Sunday against the Broncos, Sean Payton and the Broncos.
Yeah. PFF Ed, past 2 weeks, PFF has not been very kind to him. So he's dipped in the rankings a little bit.
Gibby says off runs well when CJ commits to the short game.
Certainly. I mean,
death by 1,000 cuts. Isn't that the quote?
Yes. But I think it's also too, I think there's a difference between throwing it short and guys being stagnant and throwing it short and guys being on the move and actually getting over the middle. And it's like CJ, from the day he walked in the NFL, he has not had a fear of going over the middle. He just had usually driven the ball deeper than some of the short stuff that they'd worked on. But yesterday felt like one of the very first times where if he'd said, well, I was just taking what the defense gave me, I would have believed him. And my eyes would have matched what he said about that, because he was getting a bunch of that small stuff and that short stuff. And it felt like a lot of times they at least had those guys in a little bit of in movement. It wasn't just like a turn around, you're stagnant catching the football. There's at least some usefulness to their routes and movement. But hey, when he gets rid of the football, that makes that offensive line look a lot better, a whole lot better.
I knew this was coming.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Malik says, you good? ? Respect for calling him out. I'm assuming he's saying D'Amico. Does he expect there not to be noise after 0-3 start? Good on DJ as well. LOL. We got Cody loving on Dalton. Yeah, I don't think it was even a call out. I think it was just asking for clarification on a rant that was crazy yesterday that I thought was very generalized and not specialized. I think when you generalize instead of specify, I think it just it's not good for you. Honestly, it's not good for you. So I'm not in PR, but I think the generalizing, when we go back to when he was clearly mad at who, we know he was mad at, it's not a mystery. We've talked about this 100,000 times.
Hey, bro, Alpha Aaron here.
But instead, he says the state of media and he uses the words everyone and no one. He did today. He must have forgot 15 seconds after, but he did do that. I mean, look at the quote. But I think when you generalize, you get yourself in trouble. And I think the quote last week, I would assume, and we assume that the Stingley thing, but I think the quote last week where it was basically if the players do what we tell them to do and what we practice, then we'll be fine. I think that would probably, if I was a player, that would offend me a little bit more than any Stingley thing that happened, which he was not misquoted by me. I just assumed that the bump and run, that like to get hands on someone, you need to press. And I know Stingley like press, but yeah, I don't think it was really a call out as much as it is a clarification, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. But I'm good. Yes. To answer your question, I am good.
And I'm working on a Dalton story for Houston football, clearly.
Yeah, clearly. Good God. Jeez.
Oh, was I supposed to just let him in the press conference?
No. It was good. Nah, the Dalton question was good. And then I asked the Bo Nix. I thought it was a good Bo Nix thing.
Yeah, you got a good Bo Nix question.
This thing. After the good thing. Nick Zero Mito Kaylee is here. What does that mean?
It's
Nick.
It's
QB sneaks yesterday. We'll get into it. How about those QB sneaks? It was a QB sneak week.
Yeah, that's a reference to the WWE wrestler Penta.
Who's that?
He's one of the newer guys that I don't think you've seen or come across.
Okay. Where's Alberto Del Rio? I thought he was supposed to be back.
Nobody cares. Literally nobody cares about him. You're the only Alberto Del Rio fan I know.
Wag says, after gents, cheers for that W and 0 sacks. Yeah, 0 sacks allowed is crazy for this. Regardless of who is or isn't playing, 0 sacks allowed is crazy for this offensive line.
Yep. First time in the regular season since 2023 against Atlanta.
Who are we giving credit to?
Well, the coaches.
Pop, lock, and drop it. Pop, lock, and drop it.
Wag says, afternoon, gents. That's Cole Popovich, for those of you that may not know. Afternoon, gents. Cheers for that W0 sacks. You two-pieced it, Wags.
Thank you, Wags.
Alex Cruz says, D'Amico made it very clear that they didn't make the obvious changes because of outside noise, yet did all the things the noise wanted. LMAO. I'm assuming he's talking about offense, because if you go back, and people were saying this, I was being tried about it yesterday, kind of kidding, in the locker room. Sarge came up to me and said, what are you gonna say to Nick Kaylee? And I was like, well, Sarge, he should be thanking me. And he started laughing. I think he thought I was serious. But we got QB sneaks after asking about QB sneaks on Thursday. We got 3. By the way, 3 for 3. They're still perfect on QB sneaks, despite ignoring them against Tampa Bay and Seattle. We got my first question to Kaylee in Obsession was multiple slots. We got it with the guy with deceptive speed, Braxton Berrios. Race car! And Jalen Knoll. And we also got the rookies playing more, including Woody Marks. So everything that we've wanted, we got. So that's just kind of that is a coincidence, but I do think it's funny when people think that had something to do with it.
Yeah. If they'd asked, though, we would have told them, but they don't ask.
This is, again, VY Romaniac asking, are you guys good? I'm great. Thanks for asking. Justin Pearson says the announcers kept saying how Monday was a one-off. Did they find a rhythm and Monday was a speed bump? Or did we just beat up on a team whose injuries finally caught up with them? I'll say this, tune in for Sunday. I think Sunday will tell the tale. Like this, again, it's very rare. Sometimes you don't get second chances in football, but when you have the opportunity in less than a month to come off a win against a backup quarterback in a banged up team, and then play a good team to get up to 500, which I think is probably the starting point for making a run and turning your season around. I think just the visual, I don't know if the coaches would admit it or not, but I think just the visual of that matters. I think that's a hell of an opportunity for them. So my answer, Stutz, would be, we'll see.
My thing is it very much felt like, okay, the Tennessee fourth quarter doesn't matter unless you build on it to Baltimore. And Baltimore and Tennessee didn't matter unless you captured something from those games against a better opponent. Well, if the 49ers are better, but they're still not a good team, it's like it still has to matter against a good team. Like, again, this change that they made to the offense in the offseason was not about being a serviceable offense. Like, I know it turned into that after an 0-3 start and they couldn't move the football, but the changes they made were not about getting to serviceable. The changes they made were about getting to a level where they could compete week in and week out with anybody that they played and go further than they have been. And they're still a ways away from where that is for this team.
Yeah, that's definitely a fact. Let's go through the landlock big moments. We still got Cody's context, Texans king of the turf. And we'll talk about whether or not we're good or not. I think I'm good. I don't know if everyone is convinced, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. Let's talk about the big moments of this game. And there were quite a few. I would say right off the top on the Texans' first drive, which took up a lot of time. They had the ball for 41 minutes, Cody. We saw some things that we like to see. We saw multiple slot receivers. We saw Jalen Knoll catch and move the chains. We saw Braxton Berrios move the chains and get pumped up. So we got the multiple slots. Then we got the QB sneak. And then they settled for a field goal. They don't want to do that, but I did not think against San Francisco it was as costly. Now, if you settle for field goals too much and don't sprinkle in a touchdown every once in a while, I think you can get in trouble when you play like the Kansas Cities, maybe even the Denvers, honestly, if we're being honest, maybe even the Jags. But I thought it was a solid first drive, and we saw Braxton Berrios and we saw Jalen Knoll both move the chains, which was kind of a sign of things to come. I do want to talk about something along those lines when we put a bow on this and go on to Denver here on Reaction Monday, presented by TDECU.
Yeah, I mean, for over 9 minutes worth of offensive football, Wayne catches one, Berrios catches one, Higgins catches one, Knoll catches one, Marks rushes the football, Chubb rushes the football, go for it on fourth down. And then to your point, on the initial drive, yeah, you went for it. You felt pretty good about your play on 4th and 1. On 3rd and short, you lost yards, so you weren't going to go for it again. And they went for the points. I'm with you. You can kick a field goal in that point because the likelihood San Francisco is going to be able to run you up and down the field is pretty low. So kicking a field goal there didn't have a huge deal or a huge issue with it. I would have kicked it on the first 4th down.
Wags is back.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
And I think we were saying that to each other. I was saying, just kick the field goal. Just take the 3. Screw it. 4th and 1. Just take it. But I didn't know the QB sneak was a QB sneak week. If it was a QB sneak week, I would have taken it. But you never know when it's a QB sneak week and when it's not. Wag says, can I be honest? Always, man. You can always be honest. They need to show up and build on this and not revert to old ways like we saw against Seattle. We beat a well-coached team. That's a very true fact by you. Alex Crew says, a week from today, my wife and I add 2 more fans to SNL and the Texans. Twin boys to go with our daughter. Shout out to you and shout out to them.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on the 2-piece combo. By the way, we will be at Spanky's this Friday, Sharpstown location, for our next gathering, and it is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a little pregame trick-or-treat Halloween type of vibe. We'll be there. Cody will be in costume. I'll be in costume. It all matters. And we'll see that. You literally almost just puked when I did a Jack Easterby impression.
It's because it's gross.
What's more gross, apple cider vinegar or Jack Easterby?
Jack Easterby, because he can ruin a year. Apple cider vinegar just ruins a day.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Shout out to HDAV Traveler, Victory Monday afternoon, Landry, Cody, and friends. We'll
Good
get
to
back
see
to
you,
the
my friend.
chats in a second, but we get to the second 49ers drive. This one was just an absolute slot fest. Texans forced the 3 and out. So you had the illegal formation right off the top. Then you had an offsides. And then you had Mac Jones run the ball, get a penalty on Jennings. Then you went to 1st and 12. It was just an absolute slop. It ended with a pass behind Christian McCaffrey, and the 49ers don't respond at all from the Texans' 3 points.
No.
Then we go to the
To clarify, that was the first drive for the 49ers. You said second. That was the first drive.
I was moving on to the Texans' second drive. Yeah, well, it's not going to be much different on the second. Spoiler alert.
Right.
The second drive for the Texans after the 49ers, another field goal, another QB sneak. Texans 2 for 2 on QB sneaks in the first quarter. You had a Woody Marks 50-yard pass. He ended up with 49 receiving yards. Might want to get him out there a little bit more often. But despite the 50-yard reception, he ends up with 49 yards. You had the QB sneak. You had Hutchinson short of the chains, and then settle for the field goal, no problem, 6-0. Now, you don't want to do it again, but 6-0, you're feeling pretty good because it feels like the defense is in a rhythm and the offense is at least moving the ball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're like, okay, they're moving the ball, and if you stay doing it this well, you're eventually going to turn this into 6 points. So, you don't have to worry about a couple of field goals. But I didn't want it to be 9-0 if I was the Texans.
Yeah, you didn't. And fortunately for them, the 49ers, they did nothing at all on their second drive. It was a quick 3-and-out. And then I said this at the time when the Texans were up 6-0 and they were about to get the ball for their third drive. I said it felt like a big one because I didn't know that the 49ers would be capable of overcoming a 2-possession game, whether it was a field goal, whether it was a touchdown. Now, if it's a touchdown, they would have to score 2 touchdowns, which you kind of rolled your eyes at. But they just didn't seem it was clear from the beginning that the Texans were ready to roll on defense, and this felt like a big drive.
Yeah, to use a boxing analogy, you kind of hit them with some jabs and kept them at arm's length. But if you could land a big punch and rock them, that's when you'd really know what they're made of. And that's exactly what the Texans did on this drive.
Yep. And it was actually, it might have been the best Nick drive of the year until a little bit later on. Nick. So you had Hutch right off the top for 9. Andrews, it looks like he's struggling a little bit out there, but he eliminated a Chubb chain mover. And then you had Berrios for 4. And then, oh my God, that rookie, he's pretty fast. He's pretty good. Jalen Noel, he moves the chains for a second time. Then Jalen Noel later on, 44 yards. We asked Jalen Noel today. We'll get into the Jalen Noel, Dalton Schultz aspect tomorrow. Just kind of the dynamic between the skill position guys, because I think there is something to watch that we'll tease a little bit later on in the show, like maybe something concerning when it comes to the offensive staff with guys coming back this week. But it is interesting that CJ and Jalen Noel, it doesn't seem like Higgins and CJ are on the same page when it comes to deep balls and catchable balls. But for whatever reason, despite the limited reps, Jalen Noel and CJ Stroud seem to have some pretty good chemistry when it comes to throwing the deep ball. Like they seem to have some really good chemistry when it comes to throwing that deep ball.
Yes. And I don't think Higgins is far behind, but it's not to the same level that Stroud and Noel have.
No, it's just not there yet. And it's a little bit different because I'm sure, like, from CJ's perspective, like, you want to kind of throw a jump ball to where he can go up and get it, and he's got the basketball background. But with Noel, it's just he got behind him. Let's throw it up and see what's popping. So
that Noel play came out of a Blake Fisher reported eligible. So that's what he tells the official. And then the official does, okay, 57 is reported as eligible. Like so that is not just a scenario where they're throwing short. That's not just a scenario where they're throwing where they're running the football. They'll throw it deep with Blake Fisher out there protecting. A lot of times teams get into a box when they have that 6th guy out there, not the Texans.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that's built on and what that looks like. But that it's obvious that they have some sort of chemistry. Then Braxton Berrios, again, a chain mover. So we've seen 2 slots early in the first half move the chains multiple times. I'm just going to say this. I said that we were going to talk about this later on. My concern as we move forward and we talk about the opportunity in front of the Texans is, how does Kirk fit into this wide receiver rotation? Because spoiler alert, I know we're early in the big moments. Most of you have already watched the game and you know what happens. Nico, obviously you put Nico on the field and you figure it out, but I don't think Christian Kirk is someone that you want to throw off what you got going right now with these young guys. And even Braxton Berrios, man, like I think slot receivers are a quarterback's best friend. And it seems like CJ has a lot of comfort there. And I know you might say, well, Christian Kirk's a slot receiver too. You can't count on him. The chemistry hasn't really been there. And it seems like in a very short time, like you got these 2 guys, like Jalen Noel's better than Christian Kirk right now. Like I have no problem saying that. Oh yeah. And then Berrios, we can have a discussion. Now, some people will say, well, Berrios got hurt one time and he was a healthy scratch all those games. Like it wasn't like he was hurt all those times. So I don't know. My concern, because of the trust issues with the personnel decisions on offense that we've seen, is that they ruin this rotation and what they appear to have going and what we've been waiting to see. And they don't know how to implement Christian Kirk in a positive way without doing so at the detriment of the young guys and the guys they got going right now. Is that fair concern? Do you share it?
It's a fair concern. I don't share it. The way I operate is whichever short veteran is going to go out there and play and be active on game day, you have to go out there and do the job. I don't see a huge difference between Berrios and Kirk. I would use Kirk just like I used Berrios in this one.
Okay. Maybe I'm a prisoner of the moment for Braxton Berrios. It's very possible. Who knows?
I wonder if even maybe Kirk could give you even more than Berrios has given you.
I would hope so. But I don't know. I don't know so.
The reliability factor certainly is something to think about because, okay, let's play it out. Hey, Kirk's active, Berrios isn't. Kirk goes down in the middle of the game because he's got soft tissue injury history, and then all of a sudden you don't have that extra body at the slot.
I feel like with the way they operate, Cody, that the Christian Kirk reps come at the sake of the rookie. So that's what I feel like.
So you think if Kirk is back, it's Kirk and Berrios and not Noel?
I think it comes at the sake of a rookie. That's just where I'm at and how I feel about it.
I think if Kirk's back, Berrios is back on the bench.
Okay. We'll check it out. By the way, they went with, I think I can say that, they went with Jalen Noah punt returner yesterday, so he was back. So the drive capped off after Berrios moves the chains with a Higgins touchdown, his second of the season. That makes it 13-0.
Good play that was, too.
That was beautiful. Then you have the 49ers stagnant offense. It continues. And then the Texans, they get a max 2 possession lead, and max 2 possession lead, 16 points. So they got to score 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions. The Texans end up stealing another 3. This time you had a bailout on a tip pass on the opposite side of the field. That one had to have been tough for San Francisco. The CJ's not even looking that way, and you get a penalty down there. Then you had Xavier Hutchinson just completely ignoring the fact that he's about to get lit the F up, catches the ball, 19 yards, moves the chains. Then he moves the chains again. And then you have Stroud. I thought he did a really good job of throwing the ball away, getting away. And the Texans end up getting the 16-0 lead, so the max 2 possessions with less than a minute left. So you'd probably like to take that into the locker room. But the max 2 possessions, at this point, you felt pretty good.
Yeah, that Scruggs holding just torpedoed a red zone possession, basically. Or they were right outside the red zone. What did Bill O'Brien used to call it? Red zone extended, which is not a real thing. But yeah, they were right at the red zone, and Scruggs says that terrible penalty. And you're like, oh, come on.
Off-World Production says I wouldn't say they went with him. Yeah, my bad. My bad, Frank. Then the 49ers, though, they steal 7 at the end of the half. The return to midfield, and then the face mask gets it to the 35. Then Bourne, 17, good throw. Probably the best throw of the day. These were the 2 best throws by Mac Jones. You have the throw to Bourne for 17, and then just an absolute dart to George Kittle, who we thought would be a big factor in this game. He catches the ball, and somehow the 49ers are down 16-7 at half, which is crazy.
That Kittle throws, I mean, that was just one of those, hey, that's George Kittle, and I guess got to give that guy a chance to make a play. And Aziz was right there on him, but didn't affect him enough to keep him from catching it. And then Bullock came in at the last moment and went for the football. And easy for me to say from where I'm sitting and watching it, but if he lights Kittle up, at least it's a little bit tougher than it ended up being. But that's not necessarily Bullock's game, and I'm sure he thought he's going to be able to get to the football. And that's just a really good player that's tough to defend, making a really good play, and Mac Jones throwing a F at George's down there somewhere, ball.
Yeah. And then you just wonder, how are the 49ers going to respond out of the gate? They don't. Awkward incompletion by Mac Jones. Probably should have been a penalty on Will Anderson, if we're being honest, hands to the face.
Timeout. Well, you could ignore the overly aggressive into half?
Oh, yeah. God, no harm, no foul, I guess. Yeah, I looked over to you and I said, why are they being aggressive here? They throw the interception, and then number 2 intercepts it. And I guess his Madden awareness rating is probably a 12 because he runs up the middle of the field and fumbles instead of just running right out of bounds. They actually could have been on 16-10 at half. The times when this team doesn't choose to be aggressive is kind of wild. That was actually probably we're doing big moments. Good catch by you, Cody, because I just did the no harm, no foul. If they intercept that and then they run out of bounds, and let's say that the kicker goes out there and boots whatever the field goal, he probably could have made it a 52-yard field goal if he just runs up the left side of the sidelines and goes out of bounds.
He got all the way to the Houston 30.
But he was at the 35 when he went sideways. Like, he could have just literally stepped out of bounds and given them a chance.
Correct. Yeah, I'm just like he ran out of time while he was still clearly on the football field, and I thought they were going to start doing some goofy laterals and stuff like that, but no, he just kind of kept going. I do wonder exactly how long the field goal would have been, but it would have been at least try to kick a field goal to make it 16-10 at halftime. It would have at least been a try it situation, but thankfully he didn't run out of bounds. He stayed in bounds and he got tackled and actually fumbled the football. And that was it. That was all she wrote.
Yep. Let's go to the chat before we resume. It's halftime. Go get you a beverage of your choice. We'll get back to the second half, see how Kyle Shanahan responds. Most of you already know that.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Dom in Jersey says, I wanted to be out, but I'm all the way effing back. That was rookie CJ Stroud. O-line was awesome, and the Iowa State boys were buzzing.
The roller coaster of Dom from New Jersey's acceptance of where the Texans are is such a fun ride.
Yes.
He was pretty noisy last week. I don't know if the Texans heard him or not, but he was pretty noisy last week.
Wiggles Ming says, can you please use your connections at the NFL to end National Tight Ends Day? I don't have any.
It was an underwhelming National Tight Ends Day for most people yesterday. I think at one point only 10 tight ends had scored 9 touchdowns, or nine tight ends had scored 10 touchdowns at one point. Obviously Kittle got in the end zone. You knew that was going to happen, but like Tyler Warren didn't score a touchdown. He's like the best tight end in football right now.
Yeah, it wasn't a great day. Normally when the tight ends go crazy, but Kittle got so yeah.
And then Tucker Kraft went nuts on Sunday Night Football, so I guess that kind of made up for it.
Oh, okay. He capped it off. That is true. Maybe Jordan Love is a big fan of that.
Well, and no McBride and no Bowers because they're on bye, and then Kelsey plays tonight. So, you know.
Dom in Jersey says, I know he's a friend of the show, but Frank Ross special teams have sucked for the most part. Fairbairn, too many brain farts on kickoffs. I don't know. Like Fairbairn, kickers are on their own a lot of times. I always say, like, when Fairbairn makes 50 yards, I don't like credit Frank Ross with it. So, yeah, I don't know about all that.
The return, allowing the big return after the emphasis last week from him at the podium was we let too many leaky yards get out there. And they basically are one big play away from the red zone and one good Mac Jones throw away from scoring. Like that was tough. That's one that would bite you a lot harder against a much better football team.
Trey Calhoun 7991 says, great win, but can we please look competent on offense against a good team who's not riddled with injuries? Do y'all honestly think we won't be here next week complaining about the offense again? It's a possibility. I mean, this is the opportunity, but yeah, it is a possibility. There's no doubt about it. That's why I don't make too much of this win. It is their best win of the year, regardless. But yeah, I don't make too much of it. But yeah, I think it's possible that the offense could reappear. The problems could definitely reappear.
They've just added to the prove it nature of what their opportunity was in Seattle. And I don't know that many people should buy into this offense until they do it against a good defense or they do it against a good team. Because you may find somebody that doesn't have a good offense, but they've got a good defense and you may be able to move the football against them. But yeah, you shouldn't be fully in on this offense until they showcase it, A, on a consistent basis, and B, against a good team.
David H says, at this point, I think we need to put some respect on X. Hutch, man's doing his thing. Yeah, he's kind of come a long way. And I put it up on Twitter. I think I asked him, like, you've had these opportunities as rookie, because he praised the Iowa State guys and their day 2 picks. He was a day 3 pick and probably a little bit more development expected from day 3 picks than day 2 picks. There are exceptions, but when he's had opportunities like that, whether it be against the Jets and Robert Saleh's defense, when Take and Nico went down, or other opportunities, it doesn't feel like he's necessarily capitalized on it, but it feels like he's better equipped now than he was before. And he had a pretty good answer on it, actually. I was actually pretty impressed with the young man and his maturity, and he has become a little bit doggish. I will say he has become a little bit doggish.
He's feeling himself when he goes up and makes a play, and he's making multiple plays on the same drive. And well, with no Nico, you got him out there a little bit more too.
Yeah, here was the response. I don't want to leave y'all out to dry and like send you to X, but here was the response from Hutchinson on why are you so much better equipped right now to step up? I thought it was a good answer.
You mentioned you've had opportunities where guys have gone down and maybe hadn't gone like this. Why do you think that now it's a little bit different? You don't have Nico and Kirk. And ironically, it was last time y'all faced Saleh was the first time I saw you get that opportunity at Jets 2 years ago. Why are you better equipped to do that now?
Man, in the NFL, everything starts from the neck up. You got to be mentally in there. You got to have a different, mentality. Mentality. Damn. Yeah. Everybody get what I'm saying, man. But you really just got to just confidence for me, honestly, and just keeping it and not losing it, and really just like I said, man, starting early in the week, putting up great Wednesday practices and Thursday practices, so that you can actually go out there on Sunday and everything's going to click for you.
Yeah, I mean, and it has. He did a good job stepping up. Did an excellent job. DeRhino says, don't forget Joe Mixon was in the building. He was on the escalators in the club level. I can confirm this. Joe Mixon was there. Joe Mixon was wearing a backpack. Joe Mixon was walking, and Joe Mixon was in the club level. So he was there.
Did anybody get in his way and he had to make a sudden horizontal movement?
No, if I'd have been there, I probably would have just ran at him and see what he did, just to see how the reaction was, like an on-the-go physical. But no, I don't know.
Joe's on the go physical.
I do think though with Mixon, I do think, I'm not going to speak for his physical state because quite frankly, that's kind of a big mystery. But I do think how they handle these next few weeks and the payoff team wise for him, I do think that factors into whether or not he's going to come back, whether he's fully healthy or not. It has to, right? You're not going to come back at this point in your career when you're trying to extend it for 4 games when you're out of the playoff race. That would make no sense. I would not have, I'll put it this way. If I were advising Joe Mixon, I would not recommend that.
The success of the Texans definitely should play into how Joe Mixon makes his decision for the long-term viability of Joe Mixon's career. Absolutely.
Correctamundo. All right. So we get there. Nothing for the 49ers on the first drive. Just nothing, just an absolute dud. Perhaps a hands to the face by Will Anderson, though.
Can I do a landlocked small moment here?
Yes.
Kaimi short of the landing zone on the second half kickoff.
It's got Dom mad.
You're a week late. You're 6 days late on that kick, Kaimi.
Yeah. Then we have the best Nick Caley drive of the season since the best Nick Caley drive of the season earlier this game.
Nick.
So you're starting out at the 6-yard line, and at this point, with the lead that the Texans have, I'm just thinking, okay, get to maybe the 40 and flip the field position, and you'll be okay. Well, they got greedy. Higgins moves the chains. Noel moves the chains on 3rd and 5. Schultz with just probably his best play where he runs outside and then he plants and darts up, puts the 49er guy on skates. He moves the chains, probably the play of the drive. Then a nice attempt by Harrison Bryant on a decently thrown deep ball by CJ Stroud. He goes up with the one hand. He doesn't get it. And then you have the Xavier Hutchinson touchdown to make it 20 to make it at this point it's 23-7. So you're up 23-7 at this point, and you get back the full 2-possession lead.
I liked how Hutchinson described this. He said it's one of the best throws CJ's ever had to him, and it was one of the hardest throws CJ's ever thrown to him. And he's like, I might have caught the back end of the football instead of the front end of the football, but I caught it. It's like, all right.
Yes.
That was a great play. And I thought for sure Hutchinson was getting tackled, and he kind of just kept going, and he outran those 49ers.
Yeah. Then you have the response by the 49ers, which I mean, Jennings dropped a pass that was a 50-yarder that you think maybe he could come down with, but he doesn't do it. But they respond nicely. Mac Jones moves the chains with his legs. Christian McCaffrey moves the chains. Then a Derek Barnett sack. But then on 3rd and 17, and this is kind of like a different version of Tampa Bay. There's not as much at stake because you have a decent cushion. But much like they had the 4th and long against Tampa Bay with an opportunity to basically end the game, I think if the Texans stop San Fran here, the game's over. But on the 3rd and long, you have Mac Jones to Jennings down to the 1, and then they score and they get the 2, and they make it a 1-possession game at 15-23. And at this point, we have a ball game.
I think you missed a really big moment here.
Yeah.
They stopped them on 3rd and 11, and Will Anderson was offsides.
Yes. He had 2 offsides penalties and could have easily had 2 hands to the faces.
He had 2 offsides penalties and could have easily had 2 roughing the passers. Yeah, Will's got to be very careful about his hands. And it's so funny that you say that because before the game, Texans cap, who sits next to us in the press box, he was talking about how many flags these officials do or don't throw. And this is one of the officiating crews that throws the least amount of flags. And then I thought that was funny because Mac Jones gets smashed in the head twice by Will Anderson, and neither time it gets a flag. But that offsides penalty that extended the drive that gave Mac Jones the chance to, 3rd and 6 to scramble and get the first down, that got called out specifically by D'Amico Ryans as that can't happen. So Will's, I don't know that it's quite the Laramie Tunsil of the defense where he's getting a penalty every week. It's not that bad, but he does have 5 penalties called against him this year. 4 offsides and 1 like neutral zone infraction or something like that.
Yes, I would agree with that. No doubt. So then we have a ball game. Texans go get a field goal when needed. They extend it to 26-15. CJ using his legs here, I thought was huge. I thought it was the best two-piece combo of running that we've seen since Joe Mixon. You had a Woody Marks, basically a whoop-de-doop, where he kind of makes the guy miss in the backfield and then picks up positive yardage. And then on the very next play, beautiful cut outside. I mean, just a beautiful cut outside. It looked Joe Mixon like. We haven't seen that type of running really. But Woody Marks, between going up the middle and making the guy miss and then the cut outside, I thought that was beautiful. And it led to extending the game to a 2-possession lead. Very, very crucial for the Texans, and a hell of a response heading into the 4th quarter.
Yeah, that was the big thing is after the 49ers almost turned that thing into 16-10, they didn't. I know they went to halftime at 16-7. Then after the 49ers showcase a little life to their thing, and they make a couple of big plays, and how you respond? Okay, well, you respond with putting points on the board. It's a good job. Really good job by the offense in that situation. And
then San Francisco responds with the 3 and out. They don't do anything. Texans don't do anything, although they did have Higgins move the chains again. And then final drive of the game, San Francisco really in a hurry. It's capped off with a Lassiter interception, but this is one of the big moments, and I got to give credit to the savvy vet, Derek Stingley, because San Francisco appears to have a little bit momentum there. It's that point where you're trying to score before the 2-minute warning, and Derek Stingley, one of the best players on the team, one of the smartest players on the team. I've always said this, dude, nobody loves being on a football field more than Derek Stingley. He takes a knee right there and then goes off the field. He's back the next play. He sits out a play, and Derek Stingley basically killed their momentum after them moving the ball. And I thought it was a savvy vet move. I do think Sting's banged up, but I also think Sting is smart. I thought it was a very smart play by him.
That sequence before he takes a knee, 17 yards, 8 yards, 6 yards, 27 yards by the 49ers. They'd gone from their 1-yard line to the Texans' 41-yard line in those set of plays. And then Stingley's, I thought they're going to draw a little chalk line around him. And then next thing you know, 24 is back out there. It's a good job by Derek Stingley.
Yep. Very nice. And that's the dub. Those are the landlocked moments.
The SEC would have had a $50,000 fine for him.
Mike Elko was proud. Mike Elko was wearing that sweater, and he was sticking that belly out saying, that's my boy right there. That's my dog.
Kamari's interception was nice. It deserves to get mentioned in the landlocked big moments.
It did. I said it before, and then I worked back to Stingley. I mentioned Kamari's interception.
Okay.
By the way, Kamari Lassiter, your argument about Kirby Smart not going well. They suspended that referee for the whole season. I told him that today. He goes, "Oh, they did?" I was like, "Yeah, but I think Georgia sent him a check in the mail. I think you're good."
Wait. Oh man, he ready for the Bulldogs to get in the playoff.
Yeah, well, they got to get past Texas in 2 weeks. Thanks. Anyway, so let's do the
Gotta get past Texas.
So the TDECU, where credit is due. We'll get to the Kings of the Turf on the back end. Shout out to TDECU for sponsoring Reaction Monday and everything that they do. Go to tdecu.org/Texans. Get that debit card. It's pretty. It's nice. You get 15% off at the team shop. That's not all you get. They got plenty at TDECU. They'll look out for you. They've been looking out for Houstonians for a long time. Membership required, insured by NCUA. Shout out to the greatness that is TDECU. And in the spirit of that, Reaction Monday, presented by TDECU, where credit is due. Guys that might not get game balls, but they definitely deserve some credit.
All right, so my where credit is due this week. How about Kamari Lassiter right there? Not only did he have the interception that sealed it basically for the Texans, but had some really nice come up and make the play from the cornerback spot. Had a really good tackle to stop McCaffrey short. The Texans ended up holding on second and third down, forcing a punt on one drive. So Kamari Lassiter, where credit is due for him. Got Woody Marks there in the middle. I wanted to make him a king of the turf, but he gets where credit is due. Gets the 50-yard completion, has a couple of really nice runs, was in there and a key part to the offense. And then I put Cole Popovich there because I couldn't fit all 6 offensive linemen into one little box. But where credit is due for these offensive linemen, I put their offensive line coach, and look at him. He's smiling. He's happy that they didn't allow a sack for the first time in 2 years.
Yep. There's no doubt about it. And I think Lassiter could have easily gotten a game ball. I think he could have been a king of the turf. Cole Popovich, yeah, no sacks.
Pop, lock, and drop it. Pop, lock, and drop it.
And then I think the man in the middle probably could have gotten a king of the turf as well. But you know, it's Cody's world. I'm just living in it.
And I didn't have enough room, but I was going to put Matt Campbell on here, the head coach at Iowa State.
Probably should have. Let's get to Cody's context of the week. I will be right back. I am going to I've been drinking a lot of water, so I will be right back in a second. Let's get to Cody's context.
All right, so I talked to you about the offensive line, and that's where I'm going to start with the Cody's context. And they haven't had a 0 sack game since the Texans played the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs a couple of years ago. That was the last time the Texans didn't allow a sack in a game. The last time it happened in the regular season was against the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta in C.J. Stroud's rookie year, DeMeco Ryans' first year coaching this team. And I thought it was so weird that in those 2 games, obviously we know what happened in the Baltimore game. They lost. They also lost that Atlanta game. But at the end of that Atlanta game, that had been, I think, 3 straight weeks where they had not allowed a sack to C.J. Stroud in a game where he started and finished the football game. Obviously, they didn't allow a sack in the one drive against Tennessee at the end of last year, but I didn't include that. So Atlanta was the last time in a season where he started and finished a game at quarterback that the Texans did not allow a sack. So I thought that was intriguing. We talked about quarterback pressure percentage for teams and how the Texans had some really bad quarterback pressure percentage numbers. They have done a pretty good job of keeping CJ Stroud clean, and some of the pressure that I think he did deal with, they had good interior protection and he was able to step up into it. So I think if you went back and counted the amount of times he stepped up into the pocket and it was a really clean pocket, it was probably one of the highest ones in the course of the entire season. But my primary context is about that offensive line, because when they do something they hadn't done in 2 years, I think it's worth noting. I think it's worth pointing out. And I don't know how many times they can do that, but it was a really good job by those offensive linemen. And a little bit extra for Ariante Ursary, who was the top PFF lineman of the week for the Texans.
He got it. He took Ed's award. Shout out to Ariante Ursary. He's got the Denver. It's going to be more of a challenge this week. So we'll see. We'll see how he how he handles that. So we have the where credit is due presented by TDECU. Let's get to the kings of the turf, the actual kings. Shout out to Texans Turf for doing what they did to my home. Best thing I did. Shout out to Dan. I shopped around. Best thing I've done. If you want to get a job done, no matter how big, how small, always green, always clean. Putting greens, playing surfaces, drain, no more mud. Kids love it. Go to TexansTurf.com. Shout out to Dan the man. I shopped for you so you don't have to. It can be a stressful process. Trust me.
All right, the kings of the turf for this one, I don't think there's really any surprise or shock on who the kings of the turf are. CJ Stroud right there in the middle, a fantastic performance from him, one of the better games that he's played in a Texans uniform. There's Will Anderson getting to his old buddy Mac Jones and letting him know. Will only got home for that one sack, but he affected Jones a couple of times. You can see the pressure getting to Jones. I think he even got to the arm one time on a throw for Mac Jones early on in the game. And I just put the Iowa State trio over there in the other spot. I couldn't give it to just one of them. They all had a really good performance. So they're the tri-kings of the turf over there for the Iowa State wide receivers. Jalen Knoll, Xavier Hutchinson, and Jaden Higgins, all kings of the turf on this one.
I did that too. I feel like I've kind of like lumped all those guys in. I don't, it sucks because they all individually have different skills, but whenever they all thrive, we just give it all to all the Iowa State guys.
If one guy had just been that much better than the other two, I'd have given it to him, and then the other guys would have had credit due to him. But when they all kind of interchange like that, I mean, Knoll set him up in the red zone basically to set it up for Higgins, and then Hutchinson had the big touchdown catch. I guess if I really had to pick one, I'd go Hutchinson because I really like that touchdown catch. He moved the chains a couple times. But even Knoll, every catch that he had, except for one, was a first down catch. So they were all very good in this one.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they all did different things. Knoll's the only one who didn't get in the end zone. And you can make a case that he made the most plays of anyone. It was a good day for Iowa State, no doubt. And those are your kings of the turf here on Reaction Monday, presented by TDECU. All right. So, is there anything else
presented by Texans Turf? And Reaction Monday, presented by TDECU. You're right.
Yeah, presented by TDECU. Yes. Shout out to the greatness that is TDECU, your credit union, my credit union, CJ Stroud's credit union, the U of H Stadium's credit union, plenty of credit union to go around. TDECU.org/Texans. Get that debit card.
Absolutely. TDECU.org/Texans. Get you the process started right there, or 15 greater Houston area locations for you.
Back to the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Armin M says, was Joe's backpack clear or see-through? I think Joe can probably get a real backpack in. I did not see it. Someone that I know definitely saw it that I trust. So I don't know.
Joe's backpack clear bag policy mixing.
Does Joe get special treatment since he goes in through the player's entrance and gets there? Chris says he's tired of seeing Daria on offense. Yeah, it's not great.
Not ideal, but they're going to put him out. Do you want to see Damian Pierce out there? I don't.
Yeah, Mac Dad 84 says at the end of the day, we beat a 5-2 team that figures out a way to win, injuries and all. Kaylee heard y'all with the QB sneaks and switching out left guards every other play. Kudos, guys. Yeah, I don't know about Kaylee hearing us. I will say, though, that I don't think that you can use injuries as an excuse against this 49ers team. If you don't have Kirk and Collins, there is that. But I guess maybe he's saying injuries and all with the 49ers, perhaps. Maybe not just the Texans.
Yeah, I think he's giving the 49ers credit for how they've been able to overcome injuries to win. Yeah.
Shout out to Mac Dad. Yeah, it's crazy that they have the record they do.
And it's not like again, Fred Warner's been gone for a bit, but it's not like Fred Warner missed the whole season. Same thing with Bosa. So, they won some games when those guys were there. But this team that they played and they beat yesterday is better than the Ravens and Titans team that they played and beat, but it's not as good as that Seahawks team that they lost to.
Correct. No doubt. All right. So anything else we want to add before we put a bow on this and move ahead to Noisegate, I guess? Noisegate and the Denver Broncos?
I just had one question. the success they had against McCaffrey and Kittle, I thought Kittle was going to go nuts on these guys.
So did I.
And if I was me covering the 49ers today, I'd be wondering why George Kittle didn't get the ball a ton over the middle with Azeez Al-Shire covering him, or Henry To'oTo'o covering him, or Jalen Petrie covering him. But the Texans seemingly did a good enough job keeping that from happening, and then they held Christian McCaffrey to his worst game of the season. The confidence, do you have confidence that they could attack star players better after this one, after they were able to handle two guys that are really tough matchups in Kittle and McCaffrey? We say all that 6 days after JSN had a huge day.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I just thought if they went up against a really good tight end like Kittle, he was going to dominate them, and Kittle did not dominate them.
Here's what he said about McCaffrey. I thought it was interesting he had 8 carries, but I think the fear of the defense kind of factors in there.
We knew we had to stop him. Run game, passing game, we knew he would be their highest targeted guy, and we were able to hold him. I don't think he had got many yards today, but it was a collective effort from everyone, like starting with the defensive line, really disrupting the run game up front, and then I think we tackled really well. And he had a couple check downs there in the 2-minute drive, but overall thought we tackled really well versus a really great player.
Yeah, I would agree. It is. I wonder if are 49ers fans even complaining about it? Like that he only had 8 carries. It seems a little bit crazy.
That's what I'd be annoyed about. I mean, even if this Texans defense has shown an ability to slow guys down, it's still Christian McCaffrey. Still keep kind of plugging away, pounding away, trying to make it happen. And maybe the pass rush was just too much, and they couldn't let some of those longer plays develop, or they were worried about throwing it behind the sticks to McCaffrey in case the Texans made a play and put him in second, third, and long. But I thought those two guys were going to eat them alive, and they did not at all.
Yeah, they did not. There's no doubt about that. They definitely did not, and it was their best win. But we'll see if they can beat an undisputed good team with. There's an injury here or there, but it's nothing like out of the norm, like extreme, like Baltimore and San Francisco had. And they do have their quarterback, and they do have Sean Payton. Denver opened as a 1-point favorite. I don't know what they're currently at, but they opened as a 1-point favorite. Usually you just kind of see where the money goes there as kind of a reference of what may or may not be expected. I haven't seen any jump as of yet. Right now, it's remained at 1. So Denver is a 1-point road favorite against the Texans. This would be
some places at 1.5. Some places,
yeah. So it's right there. This would be their biggest win. And when we talk about the 5-5 goal, this would be massive for them. And perhaps they could get even greedier, because the one thing that has been very kind to DeMeco Ryans, on top of most media and fans 99% of the time, is the AFC South. The AFC South has been very kind to DeMeco, almost as much as the media and fans, but they've been very kind. Speaking of which, let's go to the chat real quick, and then we'll get into DeMeco.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Will Royboy 9951 says, at the beginning of the season, y'all guessed if Mixon came back, it would be around now based on minimum weeks. He had to be out. Still a possibility. Casario said, when was Casario's media availability? It was 1, 2, 3 weeks ago. He said at the end of the month they would evaluate it. So that would probably be after Jacksonville. After Jacksonville, maybe we'll get an update.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we had an update by now. DeMeco Ryans offered zilch on it. He said, I have no update on Joe Mixon today. So
yeah, that's kind of consistent. So yeah, they've made that clear.
With no update, like he's not going to magically show up and be healthy and ready to go. So like it's going to go in stages. If there's ever positive movement, like you're going to see something very small with Joe Mixon, and then it's going to get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit. Like he's not going to be like, it's Jaguars week and 28's back. Like it's not going to be one of those.
Yeah, it's not going to be that. Here was we'll get to DeMeco in a sec. Danny has a question. Noel or Mark's jersey? I'm conflicted. I would go Noel.
Noel.
I think Noel's going to end up being the class of this draft. I think he is he is going to be a monster in the slot. I would go Noel. And I also think the shelf life of receivers is longer.
I have one of the draft podcasts I really like. They're going back and taking a look at who did the most with some of their draft capital, and I can't wait to see what they say about the Texans with the Knowles situation. And people from a fantasy perspective are starting to take a little bit more notice. And then the fantasy people, much like us, are still like, can he just get on the field more? Can you put him on the field more than you already have put him on the field? Yeah, sure. Leave him out there. I don't care. But yeah, Noel would be the jersey I'd get if I was picking between those two.
Yeah, if you had to pick, it's there. It feels like a win-win. You think, but you never know with the running back, and hell, they could bring in like a bell cow to where Woody's complimentary. It looks like he's very capable though of being a good complimentary back.
Yeah, you don't want to end up with a rotational back over a starting caliber wide receiver from a jersey standpoint.
All right, so let's get into Noisegate. So last week there was a lot of criticism of the Texans involving the way Derek Stingley was used in the game. And I think that DJ Bieniemy asked specifically why there was no pressing, and D'Amico didn't really answer the question directly. And he said that they wanted to get hands on him. Now, naturally,
the game plan was to be physical with him and get hands on him.
Yeah. And naturally, I think that, and maybe I'm not like, I don't claim to be like as smart about defense as D'Amico, but I feel like if that's the goal, then maybe press him and guard JSN. That was the whole build up there. So I just asked Stingley if he likes to press. And I said, yeah, D'Amico said the hands, the goal was to get hands on him and be physical. I didn't see a lot of pressing. I never said that D'Amico said that he told you to press. That never came out of my mouth, like ever. Pause. But that never happened. So I think that between that and some of the stuff that maybe DJ said, and the fact that there's another factor that I think is kind of like a human element that I think we can get into, but I think there was like something kind of that got D'Amico a little bit upset. Who knows? But he was asked yesterday about outside noise, and this was what D'Amico Ryans had to say, and he went on a crazy rant. We'll talk about it in a sec. Let's just hear it. This was yesterday. D'Amico Ryans at the podium.
Coming into this game, there was a lot of criticism and noise about the way that the offense was ran, and in particular the way that Nick Cady was calling the plays. How impressed were you by the way that he was able to call the game today, and for you all to get off to such a fast start? Yeah,
Kaylee did a great job again today, and he's done a great job with what we were asking him to do. He's doing a great job. He has the guys have his back. Everybody's in this together. Right, from Kaylee, myself, the player, we're all in this thing together. So it really doesn't matter about outside noise. And we hear a lot of that every time you lose. Everybody wants to come up with something of get rid of everybody, fire everybody, you lose a game, you go out, don't play well. Well, it's just the noise is just a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about. Because here in this room, as a team, we stick together as a team, and we know it's only about us, right? And you never let that outside noise creep in and control who we are. We know who we are. We know what we're about. We know the formula. We know what it takes to go win games. And we just understand that the outside noise is just noise. We would never go ask anybody who's giving the noise. We would never go ask them their opinion about how to game plan or how to play football. So we keep that in-house, and we press forward, and we go out and play good football. That's what it's about.
Okay. That's a lot. It seems very general. I think there's specific. It seems general. It kind of goes back to the when he was mad about Aaron and he just questioned the whole media profession. It seems very general. I also think the noise. It's noise. Like the media is part of the noise. So it's like even the question was interesting. The rant was even more interesting.
But we did not have a show last week that was fire everybody show.
No, I don't.
The Houston Chronicle did not put a tombstone on the front saying the Texans are dead in 2025.
No,
like Randy McIlvoy didn't go up there and be like, "Oh, they're screwed." Like that didn't happen from a media perspective. Now, were there fans that wanted people fired? They wanted changes made? Absolutely. Absolutely. We saw it in our chat. We talked about it. Like, yeah, absolutely. There were fans that wanted guys fired, but there was not some mass movement by the media to fire people last week.
Yeah, I haven't really heard that. It seems like kind of a straw man. I do think I've always said I think fans are smarter right now than they've ever been. I think media there's kind of a balance between what you do and don't say. I just think there's been like a weird effort lately that kind of hit a peak last week where there's been like an attempt to not answer questions, and then anything like always gets like generically lumped. I think it's interesting how I think players are individualized by DeMeco, which I think is great. I think it speaks to how good of a coach he is. But I think that media and fans are generalized. And I think that's the biggest disconnect that media has, is that the players are individualized and media and fans are generalized. And it's just not a good look to really do that. It's not productive. I also like, there's a lot of straw manning going on there as well. So I just asked today, because it was that was like the F you guys type of quote. I just wanted to know, like, what's the difference between good noise and bad noise, and like the balance of that. And I'm asking because it was brought up yesterday at the press conference, and it was asked, and this is what he had to say.
What are the challenges for a coach when pushing away outside noise? I know that was a topic yesterday. What are the challenges, and is there a balance between like positive outside noise and negative outside noise?
No, it really doesn't matter. I mean, here you can see it's a lot of negative talk about us. We get it. I hear people try to give it to me all the time. I get it, right? It's like, but it really doesn't matter, right? I talk about it. Everybody wants to write a hot story, and most of the time it's negative stuff that people want to talk about, right? Nobody wants to talk about the positive stuff that happens. And again, if you feed off of that and you're riding the pendulum of, oh, we're great because we won, oh, we suck because we lost, fight, like, that's our business. I get it. But that's the nature of it. We keep moving forward. Really, it doesn't drive anything. It means nothing, literally nothing, to what we're about. Like, it does nothing to drive our team. We just got to go out and play good football.
You don't think you've gotten any positive stuff?
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like the first 2 years.
You don't think you've gotten any praise at all?
Guys, what's your question?
I'm just saying, like, everybody says negative.
I said that's what people thrive on is the negative stuff. Yeah.
You don't think you've gotten any positive?
I said people thrive on the negative. You guys are good. You guys must be the ones with the negative stuff. We're playing football. You talk about outside noise. I'll say it again. It doesn't matter. Good, bad. It doesn't change how we prepare. It doesn't change our week of preparation. We're going to work. We're going to work our best, the game plan our best, and go out and play good football.
Well, but for your first couple years and a half, like, you've gotten nothing but positive coverage for the majority of the time. So when you say everybody wants to focus on the negative and not write about the positive, I don't know if how is that accurate when you've been here for a couple of years? You've got a lot of positive coverage.
You guys good?
Here's the thing, and this is where
You guys good?
this is where perhaps there's a disconnect. He literally said, and it's right here, it's archived. I don't know if they're going to send out the archive today or not.
Yeah,
But
transcript.
the transcript is out. Does it say what he actually said?
The transcript says everybody wants to write a hot story. Most of the time, it's negative stuff that people want to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about the positive stuff that happens.
Yes. That's what he said. Like that's literally exactly what he said. So that's what's confusing is he's generalized multiple times, and I don't think that I've ever seen a coach get as much praise as him. And I don't know why players get individualized, but media and fans get generalized. And I've said this the whole time. I don't think that he necessarily respects media and fans, which is fine. I've said that before, and I think the actions kind of show as much, but there's two things here, and there's 2 points of views that I'm getting the most, like in messaging and stuff. Number one, him saying that it doesn't impact him is not true. Like that's 100% not true. Like I don't think that's factual. And number two is I said this at the start. I don't expect D'Amico Ryans to act or say a certain thing, but I do think follow-up questions are necessary for clarity. But I think that D'Amico expects me and media to act a certain way. And I think that's kind of where the disconnect may be. That's it. That's just right there what I see and how I see it on the D'Amico thing. I also think the criticism has been valid. I do think some of the criticism is from people who know what they're talking about. And I also think if there's like a specific beef, what's gotten him in trouble, and I'm not saying he's in trouble or anything, but like I think there's like a denial. And I also think there's a little bit of a expanding out what you're saying instead of just specifying it, which happened with Aaron this year when he was mad about the CJ Gardner-Johnson thing. And we talked about that in full, but it's nothing personal for me. Like, I don't really care. I'm going to cover the team no matter what. It's been what I've done for 10 years. It's been how I did it. D'Amico doesn't have to be friends with me. He doesn't have to like me. He doesn't have to act a certain way. But I don't think that trying to control the whole thing is in his best interest either. And I think it was a very general statement that was interesting to say the least. So,
well, and if there was an annoyance with how the Stingley guarding JSN situation was talked about,
we sensed that was probably what it was.
They complicated the matter with how they talked about it.
Yeah, because all he had to do was answer DJ's question where he just says, yeah, we didn't press him, blah, 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 like whatever. Just like go up there and just answer the questions. It would have been fine. But I never I think he thinks there's like some sort of like misquote. That didn't happen. Like I literally, like, maybe I wrongfully assumed that in order to get hands on someone and be sticky, that you have to press him, especially someone as fast as JSN. Like if you're lined up 7 to 10 yards off, like that was a mistake. Just like if Nick Caley came out and said, we wanted to run up tempo. And then I went and asked CJ Stroud, hey, Nick Caley said that he wanted to run up tempo, but I saw y'all huddling after every play. I think because we're offensive minded, that would make sense. But that's really what the thing is on the defense. And I think you got to factor in what the storyline was leading into Will Stingley shadow JSN. And that was really the question, but I don't think it was misrepresented. I think the biggest quote for D'Amico last week that would be weird was where he said, the players just got to do everything we teach them and everything we practice, and then it'll be easy. It'll be simple. I think that's more, if I'm a player, that I would find confusing, but nobody's ever said D'Amico Ryans needs to be fired. Nobody in the history.
Well, hold on. Don't nobody, because there are some fans that wanted him fired last week and this and that.
Nobody that he's talking. Not all right. Everybody hasn't said that, and nobody. All right. Nobody has gotten more positive coverage than D'Amico Ryans.
The media in that room that were there today, none of those media members had ever called for D'Amico Ryans to be fired.
Yeah, and it's not everybody. It's not nobody. And he said he didn't say that, but he did say everybody and nobody. And I think that's where the disconnect has kind of gone. So I don't. It's not anything big for me, but I mean, like follow-up questions are necessary a lot of times. To give you a chance to explain yourself, but I just don't. I don't really look at this as like something that's really that big of a deal. I will say this too with D'Amico, and this is kind of the human element, and maybe this is like. I don't mean this as a backhanded compliment. I promise. Normally, when I say that, it comes across as trite. Look at you.
I mean, with all due respect, you might.
I don't think that he's ever dealt with criticism, like intense criticism. I think D'Amico has always been, and I think this is why D'Amico is so popular and he's so successful. Like he's always been like the team captain, the model. Like his Texans tenure started off perfectly, and this is kind of new to him. Like he's never like even his rise to being a head coach was like perfect. Like there's not very many head coaches that have that have had that perfect of a rise. Like you go in there in San Francisco, you learned under Robert Saleh, you learned under Kyle Shanahan, and then in a matter of like a half decade, you're a head coach. Not only are you a head coach, you come into a situation where you have all this draft equity, cap space, you win, which they hadn't had in a long time. You bring credibility to the organization. And then there's been the same problems kind of around the last 2 years. So I don't know that he is, I think this is a little bit new to him, which I'm not saying is like a backhanded compliment. I just think it's new to him. And I can understand that.
I did not expect you to be blaming John McClain for not being tougher on him when he was a member of the Texans.
Well, what was there to be tough on? Like he was a captain, he was beloved. It was the best. It was like the beginning of like. There's never been any situation where
D'Amico missed a tackle. It was all right. And now Landry's a bad guy because McClain wasn't hard enough on D'Amico when he was a player. I didn't expect that. Also, the people have been asking for it. Of course we have it.
You guys good?
Oh my God. You're playing along. You're part of the problem, Cody. Chase
that felt like that was a very positive
swarm
clip.
Chase says D'Amico said you people, and I do think he meant you people. You good?
You guys good?
All the Caserio media training camp coming to light. I agree. I somewhere along the line, like D'Amico got like real weird with media where he didn't want to answer basic questions or give away information. But I get it. It's fine. It's not, but I mean, you gotta like, assuming that his beef is being misrepresented, you say something 15 seconds before you denying something is not like the best representation of that perhaps possible beef.
Correct.
Would you agree?
I would agree.
Biased H-Town says they just wanted to get a look at Higgins and Knoll. So they just held out Nico and Kirk, and now they're gonna figure it out. Kyle says the you good has to be a soundbite.
You guys good?
Cody was already on top of that. So yeah, it is what it is. Nothing that I've said about D'Amico, including the massive amounts of praise, has really changed. If they lay an egg like they did against Seattle, against Denver, my overall approach is not going to change. Hopefully his does, to where if DJ asks him multiple times about pressing, he just says, yeah, we decided not to press, not the game plan type of thing. But I think it's fine. He can do whatever he wants to do. And that's perfectly good on that. It's not anything crazy for me. Like I don't think
this was like, I think Wednesday, in my estimation, will be business as usual because the Bo Nix questions after this were business as usual.
Oh yeah. I asked him about Bo Nix and he gave me a nice Bo Nix answer.
Yeah, there's really good Bo Nix answers. Yeah. And I got some good Dalton stuff. So it's not like he didn't hit us with
you guys good
and leave. I think he wanted to, but he didn't. He stayed to answer some questions.
Nah, he's fine. I think it's fine. He's gotta figure it out. I'm sure it's stressful. I'm sure it's annoying. But I can promise you this, like the quota of D'Amico ass kissing, if he like craves it, it's surpassed. Like there is backstock of D'Amico ass kissing that he can get back to, and it'll be there. And when it's appropriate, I will do the same. That is that. I'm not going to sit there and misquote you or anything like that. So there you
go. Wexler tried to get the press conference back on track, and he asked something about the record, and he got like a leftover, like annoyed answer. And then, of course, Aaron's like, hey, is Cade Stover's foot okay?
Hey, bro. Alpha Aaron here.
He's like, yeah, Cade's doing a great job. He's working hard. He's trying to get back.
Yeah, it's fine, dude. Like it's not anything new. This has happened. I've been yelled at much worse by players and coaches, and nobody is going to cover the team as consistently as me, as objective as me, and as fair, I hope. So that's that. It's all good. And DJ BNMA, I'm sure he's fine as well. It's not a big deal.
You guys good?
all. It is what it is. But I maintain I think players are individualized and media and fans are generalized. And I've said that's not new. That's not based on this. That's something that I've been said for a while. So I think there's that, and that's the world that it is. It's a different time for DeMeco. But the other thing that needs to be made clear, I benefit when you win, sir. I don't benefit from this. Like we're not really dependent on chaos and stuff like that. Like I nothing has been better for my life, my sanity than DeMeco Ryans arriving in Houston. And I want DeMeco to evolve and take that next step. So I am, and when it happens, if it happens, you're going to get praise. You can look back when praise is deserved, praise is there. But that's just kind of where we're at. There you go. That's all I really got on it. Is there anything else that we need to mention?
So what you're asking is,
You guys good?
Jets comedian says $100 Texans reach out to mend the fences and DeMeco is on the show. I don't want DeMeco on the show. He doesn't say anything. Like what's that going to do? I don't need any favors. Like I don't expect anything from him. He owes me nothing. He owes me nothing. Like I'm not owed anything. I don't expect anything from him.
it goes back to that comment we had last week about when the guy in the chat said, "Oh, what'd you expect Shaq Mason or Lakin Tomlinson to say?" Well, that was a Freudian slip. What'd you expect Lakin Tomlinson to say? I was like, I didn't expect him to say anything. I just expected him to answer the question.
You just called Shaq Mason, Lakin Tomlinson. Interesting.
No, I just called Lakin Tomlinson Shaq Mason.
Same thing.
No, that's a different thing.
Same thing. David White says, should we as fans keep talking ish so they can win? It seems to work. Yeah, I don't know if I would credit talking ish. I would say San Francisco being depleted and the defense being a superpower would have as much to do with it as anything.
Yeah, if you could take a tire iron to, Mike McGlinchey's knee and make the pass rush better on Sunday, that'd be a good way to help. I don't advise that. I'm not advocating for a parking lot beat up of their offensive tackle, but
on the chat, Brandon Monroe says DeMeco is right. Right about what? Be more specific. I don't know that he's right. Factually, I don't think he's right.
He called him DeMarco Ryan, so Brandon is not right on his spelling.
Yeah, that's tough. It happens. The spelling will happen.
DeMarco Ryan.
Kyle says, ask him if he's good next time. I'm okay on that.
You guys good?
I have a quote for next year. Is this the new It Doesn't Matter, Brian? Thing? I'm not trying to be Brian T. Smith. I'm there every day. I'm covering the team no matter what. It's not optional, but I don't know.
I think until something else happens, I think we've got to.
You guys good?
Stop.
I've already started to put it in production. We're already getting a You Guys Good sticker.
Doyle says, these press conferences remind me of Working Dog production skit. If you haven't seen one, then go watch one after the stream. Okay, I'll take your word for that. Trey says, DeMeco say a lot of words that adds up to zero stuff. Sean Supertech says, you guys are a little too full of yourselves. I don't know what that means. Can you be more specific? Is that Star Trek right there? Or is that X-Men?
That's Star Trek.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, be more specific, Star Trek. I agree. I'll take DeMeco on. That's for sure. Dairy Full says, Landry versus DeMeco one-on-one apple cider vinegar challenge. I'll take him. Although, would you put it past DeMeco to take a couple ounces of apple cider vinegar in the morning?
DeMeco Ryans looks like he's in like more muscular shape than when he played. So he's not skimping on the taking care of the.
He might drink nastier stuff than ACV, honestly, if we're being serious. Like, yeah. Mellow Mike says they talk in circles, don't answer questions. I mean, they don't have to. It's just sometimes you back yourself into a corner. There. Yeah, Frank Ross being on the show was for his charity, and we like Frank Ross, although kind of a weird thing.
I still like Frank Ross. There's no although there. I still like Frank Ross.
No, I'm talking about the criticism last week. Like, no one is safe.
No, yeah, his performance at the podium last week was not good.
Yeah, Casario probably does take ACV.
Honestly, I'd be shocked if he doesn't, or he might take something that's like even weirder than ACV.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Like, yeah. I can't imagine what he eats. Crazy. Yeah, D'Amico probably eats nails. There's no doubt about that.
Eats nails.
I mean, he's a big guy, man. Big guy. And hopefully he gets his squad going. They got an opportunity now. And the
and really, I know that they've won what 3 of their last 4, but the wins haven't been over super impressive teams, and it's really got fans asking one simple question.
You guys good?
Yep.
You guys good?
Christ, dude. All right, back on the chat. I don't know if this show's getting back on track or if it's getting off track. I'm not sure where we're going here. MHW Nation says D'Amico's comments are not going to look good if they don't show up next week in Denver. Not in Denver, NRG. So
if they show up in Denver next week, they have an organizational problem.
Yeah, if they show up in Denver next week, then they're going to probably have to forfeit the game, and then it's going to be even worse for D'Amico.
Yeah, they play at home this week. The Broncos are coming to Houston.
Hayden Court says, would you compare the Niners team to the Jags in terms? No, I would compare them to the Ravens. Backup quarterback, banged up team at an all-time high. I would compare them to the Ravens. That's how I would compare them. I would say the Jags.
I'm very interested to see what the Jags look like coming out of their bye week, because if Liam Cohen's a real good coach, he should have some things adjusted that haven't been going right for the Jaguars here as they headed into the bye week. So I'm very interested to see them coming out of the bye week and kind of take a temperature of where they are.
Yeah. Jay Cronin says smash. They won by a touchdown. I know he's talking about the Texans.
Yeah, if you thought the 49ers didn't get smashed yesterday, then
yeah, just like it's like when D'Amico said that they were a possession away from the Seahawks. That game had no business being that close. They got their ass whooped. So I think a lot of times when you watch a game, the score can be a little bit misleading. I think the Texans completely physically dominated the 49ers. 41-minute time of possession, and they were pretty much in control the whole time.
49ers they had 2 good offensive drives the entire game.
Yeah, and you look at Christian McCaffrey's total yardage, I would say that they beat their ass.
Yeah, if you want to like parse words and be like, well, they didn't annihilate them, they smashed them. It's like, okay, sure.
Do that. Words are important, man. Words are important. There's no doubt.
Words are important. Was that a 49ers fan, you think, that just asked that said that?
Don't know. There's probably like 20,000 of them left over. They dominated the stadium yesterday. There's probably a lot of 49ers.
If that was a 49ers fan, I just want to know.
Yeah, it's good.
Yep. Okay. When is this going to get old?
I don't know.
We'll talk more about this in the locker room, the D'Amico situation. I'm sure Sean Pendergast is going to want to talk about in the collective. We got a quick turnaround, 6 o'clock, Texans Collective. Put that in the chat so they can subscribe to it. Pendergast, myself, Reginald, and Stutz will react. Reaction Monday presented by TDECU, per the usual. But yeah, we will definitely
into the chat for the folks.
Perhaps touch that. So it's in the chat. If you haven't subscribed to the Texans Collective, what the hell are you thinking? What the hell are you thinking?
If you haven't subscribed to the Texans Collective,
you guys good?
Come on. That'd be my question. I think, really, Landry, I think you're venturing into this territory.
Quite frankly, I'm tired of talking about it.
Okay.
I got lots of them.
It's fine. There you go.
I got a Bobby one that we never got to use because it never fit, but it's Bobby Slowick, and he goes, ooh, snuck up on you.
Good old Bobby. People don't miss him this week, though. So
Nope.
All right. We appreciate everyone for rolling through. Don't play it again. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for riding along on Reaction Monday, presented by TDECU.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.
You guys good?